Hi, my name's Monica. I'm the artist behind Hardle Design, and I make a lot of enamel pins, so I thought it would be great to share with you guys how to make your own enamel pins. I started making pins in 2020, and I've learned a lot about the process since then, so I wanted to share that knowledge with all of you. We're going to go over all the basic steps to creating enamel pins: design, manufacturing, presentation, and other important things to keep in mind. There are a lot of terms I'm going to be using that you may not be familiar with, so I'm going to explain a few things here. Enamel pins are cast in metal using a mold. When you have pins manufactured, you'll pay a one-time mold fee. Most manufacturers maintain the mold for 2 years for you to reuse it as much as you want. You never actually see the mold, they kind of just make it and keep it behind the scenes. Pin clutches are the little backs on the pins. There are lots of different clutches like metal butterfly clutches, locking metal backs, and rubber clutches. I love rubber clutches the most, mostly because they come in so many colors and shapes. Most manufacturers won't even charge anything for upgrading to a specific color or shape, so be sure to ask and see what they offer, and they'll send you pictures like this with all of your choices. It's a fun and expensive way to customize your pin even further. When making pins, you can choose to have a back stamp for an additional one-time fee. Typically it's around $20. This is great for branding and recognition. If somebody gives a pin as a gift or just simply forgets where they got it from, it's pressed on the back. You can also do back stamps for artistic reasons. This pin in particular has a title, The Ruins. You can see my logos here as well. When it comes to enamel pins, you have two main types: soft enamel and hard enamel. Soft enamel pins are less expensive to produce. They are cast in metal and then they're painted, leaving the recessed parts of the pin visible. Hard enamel pins are filled with the enamel by an extruder and then sanded down to one flat pin with filled-in grooves. Personally, I only make hard enamel pins. I just really love how they look when they're smooth, and it's what I like to collect. Pin posts are the little metal pins on the back of the pin. You can choose to have 1, 2, or even 3 or 4 depending on the size of your design. Having 2 or more posts prevents the pin from spinning or shifting. Printing is an essential part of the pin design process for me. Printing increases the cost a little bit, but it can really help the design look its best. Screen printing is a one-color process, so each color is added layer by layer with additional screens. You can see how on Blueberry Frog here I have light blue print on the body, gray print for the lighter part of the eye, and a white highlight on the eye. With the Ruined statue pin, I used UV printing. It's a similar process, but it allows for gradients instead of just solid colors. Now that you have a bit of an idea of the terms I'll be using, we can get into the actual process. You want to have an awesome idea, illustrate your concept, select a manufacturer, prepare your artwork for manufacturing, waiting and more waiting, pin grading, photography, and presentation. Having an awesome idea. When you're designing pins, it's important to start with the freedom of your original idea, because when you're working strictly in the mindset of pins, you're stuck with harsh lines and limited colors. Thinking that way can have a negative impact on your final product. You can see on my gecko here that he has a lot of detail. Fading colors, textures, things like that. I drew this design in marker and I decided to make it an enamel pin. Identify the most important elements. With my leopard gecko design, the most important elements are the flowers, the general body shape, the eyes, and the spots. Outline the entire design and color it using fill colors. Keep in mind print colors for some parts of the design. I want to be able to show shading on the tan part of his body, so this is where print comes into play. Adding a layer of print here adds so much depth. That leaves one last step, the spots. The spots will be the final layer of printing, so this is our design. When it comes to selecting manufacturers, use well-known manufacturing sites like Alibaba or Vogue Race. Be sure to read reviews and look for images. Compare prices and don't be pressured to pick the first manufacturer that you talk to. Preparing your design for manufacturing. Be clear and be detailed. When you reach out to manufacturers, it's important to specify everything. You want to specify the size of the pin, the metal color, the amount of posts and clutches, printing, and any other special requests that you might have. This is an example of what I sent to my manufacturer. I went through and showed each color, specifying which colors are print. I have access to the Pantone color scale, so I specify color numbers, but you don't have to. Manufacturers will send you a digital proof to approve, so you'll be able to make changes if you want to before the pin starts production. Here's a side-by-side of the design and the final product. It turned out exactly as I pictured. Part of the reason was because I was so clear with my design requirements. The pin on the left is the original gecko design that I made. This was my first time designing pins, so I really had no idea what I was doing. There aren't a lot of resources online, so I just sent a vague idea to the first manufacturer that I found, and this was the result. The colors were really dull, there was no print, so every color was outlined in gold. This kind of makes the design hard to see. They also outlined it in white for some reason, which is super weird. The design on the right is so vibrant and visually more appealing. Plus, the quality of the pin was just plain better. It was thicker and the enamel was more even. Pins are typically graded using A grade and B grade. A grade means an almost perfect pin. No visual flaws, no scratches, even fill, accurate printing. B grade means that there are obvious flaws like scratches, bubbles in the enamel, misaligned print, uneven fill in the enamel, stuff like that. You can offer B grades at a discounted price since some people don't mind flawed pins. Personally, I like to give them away in large orders. Backing cards and product photos. Backing cards are another great way to enhance the look of your pins. You can see here that I have Watermelon Frog on a watermelon themed backing card to add to the cute factor. With my Athena pin, I have a simple backing card that says Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Both cards also have my shop name at the bottom. I buy custom business cards to use for backing cards for most of my standard size pins. These pins are a bit different. We have the Ruins, which is a 4-inch pin. Obviously, it's too big to go on a standard business card, so I used custom postcards. We have the T-Toads pin set, which includes 5 separate pins on one card. These are far more expensive pins in general. The Ruins is $30 and the T-Toads set is $50. Having great presentation is helpful when you're selling more expensive pins because people are willing to pay for quality, and the backing cards really add to the visual appeal. When taking your product photos, it's important to keep in mind that this is the first thing people will see for your product. You want it to capture the essence of the design. For my strawberry frog, I cut strawberries in half and laid them out flat to make a background for the pin. I just stabbed the pin directly into one of the strawberries. Cost and production time. Pins are really expensive. The left design here is only a 1/2 inch tall, it has no printing, and it's only 2 colors. It also only has 1 post. It costs less to have produced in general. The right design, the gecko, is 3 times the size of the frog. It also has 3 print colors and 7 fill colors. It's a more expensive pin. Acrylic and wooden pins are a good alternative if you're not ready to dive into the commitment of enamel pins. The art that you make might also better fit the style of an acrylic pin. Websites like Vograce only have a minimum order of 3 pins. Here's an example of a design that I made that just works better as a wooden pin. The possum is very detailed, and he benefits from having gradients in his design. I also loved the idea of having woodland creature pins be wooden. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, and you can check out my enamel pins at hartledesign.com. Also be sure to check out these other 2 amazing artists, Bright Bat and Billy Boo Arts. Thank you so much. Bye!